What's up? It is the Sports Live on a Wednesday. Going to have a good show. It's that midweek point. We're going to bridge the gap between the week one loss to the Bears and week two's game, the home opener for the Titans against the New York Jets. And we've spent so much time so far this week talking about Will Levis, obviously because of the how that game ended and the problems that the Titans second-year quarterback had. But then spent a lot of time Tuesday talking about the great defense from the Tennessee Titans on that season opener as well. Currently the number one ranked defense in the NFL when it comes to yards allowed. How about that? So very impressive overall. So that's from Jim Wyatt over yesterday, I guess it was. And so going to have a great show today, but today our focus is the Titans skill players. And one of these offensive stars really needs to step up for Will Levis in order for the Titans to get a week 2 win against the Jets. And man, how great would it be to send the New York Jets to 0-2 because everybody knows the infamous 0-2 NFL start stat that you're never going to make the playoffs since 1990, all of those type of things. So one of these teams is going to be 0-2 unless it's an amazing tie at the end of Sunday.
There's nothing amazing about a tie. Don't say
Which,
that.
Hey, I will say this.
Last time they played, they almost tied, didn't they?
Well, and also last year, week one opener on the road, a really crushed, defeating loss with a bunch of turnovers from your quarterback. Mm-hmm. You come home against an AFC opponent who has playoff expectations, and you take them to overtime and you win. You beat the Chargers last year in week 2.
This is true.
We'll see if things follow that type of suit. But Easton, welcome in today, talking about a lot of skill players. We did a dog talk yesterday about the MCL injury that DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with, and got some really interesting information from our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute with Dr. Looney. We'll play you a clip in the middle of the show. And then it is your first time driving for sports trivia. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. A lot of things.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So it is you driving the ship. And so Jared says, whoa, Sam is primetime now. Just Tuesdays for Sam. I'll update the weekly schedule after our official open here so you guys can kind of get a feel of what the game week is going to be like during the season as we are going from week 1 to week 2. But Easton, welcome in. Let's get this thing off and rolling.
Guys who are with us live, first of all, good morning. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. We would like for you to help us share today's show. We want to get as many live eyeballs on today's product as humanly possible. So if you're watching with us on Facebook or on YouTube, make sure you're smashing that like button. That's the easiest thing you can do to help us. Just hit that little thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed over at A to Z Sports Nashville on Twitter, or on YouTube as well as on Twitter. And then if you can like the tweet, retweet the tweet over on Twitter, that'd be helpful as well. But we appreciate all of you guys being in here. Hop into the comments over on YouTube, over on Facebook. We want to hear your thoughts this morning.
Yep, and without further ado, let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, newly Titans reporter here at A to Z Sports in his second week. Excited about that. But we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. You got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with your health coverage, and visit our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And TDOT, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee, especially on the game days this fall. Visit nobodytrashestennessee.com for more information. Okay, so Louis is in his feelings as typical on YouTube, but I did want to go ahead and lay out the weekly schedule for all of you guys who watched primetime last night. Like, hey, it's Sam. Yes, so Mondays will be Zach and I. This is like the typical week. There's going to be some alterations whenever something happens. It might be different next week as the Survivor season premiere is a week from today. Ooh, how about that? So maybe we'll do a little something. Sam. Sam will be on Survivor, as we talked about last week, but that season premieres a week from today, so we'll have to switch some things up next week. But the normal week is Zach and I on Monday, Easton and I on the morning show on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Sam and I to round out Thursday and Friday for the morning show. And then primetime will be Buck normally, except for Sam is pitching in for Buck on Tuesday nights on A to Z Sports Primetime, which is a Sunday through Thursday show at 7 p.m. Central on these same channels. We'll also have Titans at 2 episodes with Sam and Easton. You might make an appearance here and there with Titans at 2 on Monday and Thursday afternoons. So that is the overall outline of what our week's going to look like. So the whole goal of that is we want to keep the conversation fresh and intertwine so we don't have to beat the dead horse day after day after day. The topics, the storylines, and the conversations will always be fresh as we rotate through the week. So very excited about that. Alex says, you guys are paying Buck too much. He's starting to want time off. Well, no, I mean, there's a trade-off for the night off that he gets for primetime. There's something else that he will be doing for A to Z Sports. So Buck's not getting a complete off scot-free.
Tuesday night, Buck plays Mahjong with the ladies down at the community center. He needed the night to be a part of that. So
yes, Daniel says, I'm going through that too fast. Post this in the chat in the comments. It'll take me way too long to type that. I suck at typing. I'm way better at talking, which is why I do this for a living instead of writing. So anyway, let's go ahead and get this off and rolling here, Easton, because Sunday against the Bears, the Titans had inefficiencies on offense, to say the least, right?
Sure.
But Tony Pollard looked really good in the first half, as did Tajay Spears running the ball. Both of them averaged over 5 yards per carry throughout the game, and Tony Pollard got nearly 100 yards from scrimmage with his 12 receiving yards, but came up just short. Calvin Ridley was the leader for the team in receiving, 3 catches on 7 targets for 50 yards, but there was a lot left out there to be desired. And so I want to play this clip before. This is more of a generalized clip from Brian Callahan about the distribution of the offensive skill players. Then we'll discuss Ridley and Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard in more detail. But here is Brian Callahan from Teron Davenport about just the overall distribution of the football in week 1 against the Bears.
And now that you've been through a game with all these playmakers that you have, how was it just trying to, like you did the reverse for the end around for Burks? You went to Ridley's, you try to get Hop involved when possible, but how was it just, making sure that everybody got their opportunities?
It was good. I mean, again, there's areas that I can improve to keep finding ways to get some of the guys the ball. I mean, Calvin got 7 targets. I think to go back even to your initial question about the running back usage, I think part of that was, particularly in the second half, we didn't sustain any drives either. We didn't get enough bites at the apple, if you will, and so that affected some of those things. We had 61 plays. I think if you're really humming on offense, you're probably up over 70, and so it makes it a little easier to distribute some of those reps and target some guys in some more areas too. I think that it all sort of works hand in hand for me. But I thought the process was good. I thought our intent was right, and we just we can clean some things up.
So, Easton, what are your thoughts on the process and the intent that Callahan ended that clip with? Because, look, it is correct that when you run a dozen or so less snaps than you hope, then that's a dozen less footballs to go around for your skill players.
Yeah, that's part of the transparency on Monday that I appreciated, because I came away from, especially on the rewatch, getting some tape study in on Monday morning, wondering, why are they running so much shotgun? I don't know if that's the way to succeed with this team. I'm not sure about the distribution of the ball with the running backs, the way that they're spreading it out with the receivers, the levels of the field they're throwing to. Is that the way that they want to operate? Like, is that the plan, or is that just kind of the way that things worked? And on all of those fronts, Callahan explained just kind of the way that the game went. That was the game flow. Those are areas for us to improve. It's not really what we want our identity to be. So that's where they're focusing on this week. So I am with Brian Callahan ultimately on his desire to keep things more split. In terms of the running backs in particular, I did a radio interview yesterday, and they asked me whether or not it's concerning that it wasn't more splitting. I don't think it needs to be a 50-50 split. I think it needs to be you ride the hot hand. And that's what we came into the season talking about, how it's probably going to be, okay, this is a Tony week, then it's a Tajay week, then a Tony week. It just depends on who is playing better. And, especially in that first half, when you had Tony in there breaking off 5, 6, 7, 12-yard runs, you keep that guy in on that drive, right? You don't swap him out for the sake of fairness in the NFL. That's not the way that it works.
Yeah.
The other guy understands this guy's working. We're going to keep him in until it's not working. And so I think you're going to see plenty of Tajay down the road. I do think it's advantageous to them to keep their numbers relatively even just so that the wear and tear is the same. But for me, it's way more ride the hot hand than it is make sure they get half and half.
Yeah, for sure. I think Tajay Spears had 4 carries for 21 yards. Easy math tells me that's over 5 yards per carry.
Also good. Yeah.
All in the first half, right? No carries for Tajay in the second half of that game. Now, he had 4 catches for only 11 yards because the Bears tackled extremely well on the perimeter in the short passing game. And look, I saw somebody say, I think it was Roy, said the play calling kind of sucked. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you want to go analytically, Easton, I sent you and Sam a graphic that I saw this morning on Twitter, and where it was about expected yards over, coverage confusion or coverage mistakes. And the Titans play calling created coverage mistakes.
It's above average, right?
But Will Levis was the dead last quarterback and
did not capitalize one time. No,
for sure. So like above average of creating bad decisions for the defense, but the last place in the NFL when it came to take advantage of that. So did the play calling stink? I mean, I don't know. It could have been better.
It got stagnant in the second half. I'm with him on that.
For sure. So, and I don't want to talk about the Traylon Burks thing right now, but I do want to get into the Calvin Ridley conversation, and we'll play the running back clip in the Calvin Ridley conversation here in a second. But let's go ahead and get the audience here more involved this morning and ask you guys this question. Which Titans offensive weapon needs to step up in week 2 for Will Levis? So this, we're not asking, is open-ended. Like, so who on the offense needs to step up that's catching or running the football for the Tennessee Titans and for Will Levis to be able to get a win in week 2. So we'll get to all of your comments. I want to hear what you guys had to say about this. But first, I want to tell you guys all about our great new partner, and that is T-Dot. Did you know? Over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now. It's such a big problem, but we all can be a part of the solution. And TDOT spends over $23 million each year cleaning up that litter across the state, but they cannot do it alone. You can help by making simple changes to your lifestyle, including stop littering. It's the easiest thing you can possibly do. Just don't litter. But also, you can pick up litter when you do see it, as long as you're not going to get dirty, right? The clean litter. You can pick up pieces of paper and throw it in the nearest recycling bin. Yeah. It's easy to do. I do that all the time. And also, you can join local cleanups, just like A to Z Sports is going to do this fall. Every action counts. Tennessee needs all of us to step up and be part of the solution today and help keep Tennessee beautiful. Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com to get involved. And nobody trashes Tennessee, especially on game days this fall. But once again, check out to get involved, NobodyTrashesTennessee.com.
Guys, it's betting season, and BetMGM is an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. They're ready for football season with you. Sign up today using our code A to Z Sports and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Whether you're cheering on the Titans at the stadium or watching the game at your favorite Music City sports bar, you'll always be able to get in on the action with the BetMGM app right in the palm of your hand. There's nothing better than a Titans win. There's nothing like the thrill of winning at BetMGM. Enjoy the best parlay selection, options, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, and so much more. Download the BetMGM app today. Sign up using our code A to Z Sports, and you will experience football like never before. BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. And over at BetMGM this morning, Austin, the Titans-Jets look-ahead line. The bettors are coming in on the Titans for a second straight week. They didn't learn their lesson, moving that line down from a 4 to a 3.5. So if you're looking to bet the Titans, keep an eye on that. Maybe it gets down to that field goal and you can flip the other way. But as of now, if you want the Titans over a field goal, you better go get it because it's moving.
All right, that's good to know right there. All right, so Easton, I'll send you to the chat on Facebook and on YouTube. We asked everybody in the chat which Titans offensive weapon needs to step up in week 2 for Will Levis. As we mentioned, Tony Pollard led the way, 80-plus rushing yards, nearly 100 yards from scrimmage. Calvin Ridley had 50 yards on 3 catches. And then obviously the lone touchdown through the air, Chigakonkwo, a first and goal at the 17. Hell of a grab from Will Levis's throw there. But who needs to step up for Will Levis in week 2? What are you seeing from the chat this morning?
Well, I just want to acknowledge that a large portion of the responses don't technically qualify for our question because they're offensive line related. We aren't talking offensive
Skill.
line today, but we recognize the fact that you all think the offensive line should be better. We agree. As for
I
the
will
skill
say,
players,
if you ask offensive linemen, they will say they are skill players.
They will.
They're a big skill. There's
Right.
little skill and there's big skill.
That's right.
But we're talking about the little skill today, the wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends.
And so a ton of answers of Calvin Ridley from Vanessa and Duran, D-Hop from Daniel, who we're going to talk a little bit about his availability, his health timeline with the doc talk that we'll talk about later. Tajay Spears from Steve, NWI mentioned by Skip, Wiley from Orlando Jones, a couple Hopkins, D-Hop and Spears. Yeah, a lot. The primary answer here is Calvin Ridley. And I'm not seeing a lot of Tony Pollard, which is kind of surprising to me. Maven says Tyler Boyd. Austin, my answer is going to be, I guess, a triple down of the track that I have been on here. For this Jets team in particular, I think that Tyler Boyd is the one that needs to step up for Will Levis. And the reason is for a couple of different things. For one, we're going to talk about this again later in the episode, but I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be somebody that can be the guy to step up for Will Levis in week 2. I don't think we're there yet. Again, we'll cross that bridge in a little bit. For Ridley, he's a very talented player. I think that they should try to utilize him at not just in the deep outside the numbers area of the field, but utilize him everywhere. So far, he is, especially with D-Hop out, their X guy, their downfield guy. Mm-hmm. And so against this Jets team, this Jets defense in particular, and here's a stat for you from Next Gen Stats, talking about how Will Levis, we all know in his rookie season, he was responsible for the most air yards per pass, 10.2, and the highest rate of deep pass attempts, which was 18.8% of his passes that traveled 20 or more yards downfield among all qualified quarterbacks. So he was airing it out last season. And half of his NFL touchdowns, by the way, 5 of the 9 he's thrown have been deep passes. But this Jets defense has allowed only 10 deep completions during that time period of 20-plus air yards. It's the fewest in the NFL. Opposing quarterbacks have a 22.7% completion percentage, second worst, and a negative 10.7 CPOE, which is the worst when targeting receivers deep against the Jets in that time span. In week 1, Monday night against the 49ers, the Jets limited Brock Purdy to 1 of 4 passing on his deep attempts. All of that being said, I don't think the deep ball is going to work for Will Levis against this Jets defense. They have taken the top away in terms of what's on the menu for offenses, and that means that somebody underneath is going to need to step up. This is going to be we already talked about how Will Levis needs to play more boring football. He needs to be more efficient. Against this defense in particular, you have got to take what they give you. You have got to be willing to dink and dunk and kill a team by death by 1,000 cuts. And so guys like Josh Wiley, Tajay Spears, Tyler Boyd out of the slot, those underneath passes are going to be the bread and butter in this game if they're going to succeed. And Tyler Boyd was the second highest targeted receiver for the Titans in week 1, caught 3 of the 5 passes thrown his way. He knows this offense better than any of the other skill position players right now. I think that he's the guy that Levis needs to lean on in week 2.
Yeah, and Juan brings up the middle was open for San Fran. And if you want to kind of think of if you're going to watch the Niners Jets game and be like, all right, that's the blueprint for the Titans to beat the Jets in week 2. Let's just for that elementary of an exercise. Then you look at who is the most like Tyler Boyd on the Niners offense. It's probably Juwan Jennings, right? Of what routes and what their role within the offense is going to be. And Juwan Jennings, I think as the game ended, was the leading receiver as far as catches and yards. I think he was for the Niners. Brandon Ayuk is in a situation where he's not doing a lot. Hey, neither is DeAndre Hopkins. So that's kind of works there. And then Deebo Samuel, is a guy that's very much a massive freaking game, or he plays decoy the whole time. And so that's where Juwan and other guys do that. So, and Darren says, don't compare the Niners and the Titans offense. Guys, come on, just chill out for a second. Like, I have a problem with the chat as a whole this morning because you guys are being difficult for the sake of being difficult, because we asked a question that is very simple. Which Titans offensive weapon needs to step up for Will Levis in week 2? Stepping up for Will Levis. And then you guys think you're smart because Corey comes in here and says, unfair question. Levis is the only person who needs to step up. Roz says, Will needs to step up. He's just too much in the pocket. Calm down, see the field. Billy, Levis needs to help himself. And Devin says, skill players, Levis is the only answer. You guys are being difficult for no reason. And like the people that are like, oh, the offensive line. No, come on, guys. Listen, let's have a conversation we're trying to produce something out of it. And you guys are just, oh, don't compare the Niners to the Titans. Like, of course, that's not the point. The point is to try to figure out how to beat the Jets, which the Niners just did without Christian McCaffrey, by the way.
It's a team game, guys. And other players can help win games.
Yeah, with Middle Tennessee products winning in the run game and the pass game. Because who led the Niners in rushing? Middle Tennessee guy. Who led the Niners in receiving? Juwan Jennings. I just said it. A Middle Tennessee guy. So Jordan Mason and Juwan Jennings, boom, right there at you. So come on, guys. Let's play along and just follow along with the conversation.
Okay, guys.
Trying to change the direction of the damn question. All right. So
goodness.
My answer is going to be Calvin Ridley. And I love this comment.
Okay.
So Bryce comes in and says, unfortunately, Sauce Gardner is going to lock Ridley up. And if it's Sauce Gardner, who is maybe following or trailing Ridley, I don't know how the Jets do that with their corners, but we saw Reek Woolen, absolutely big boy, Calvin Ridley in joint practices a couple days in a row when the Seahawks were in town in August, and that did not go very well for Calvin Ridley. But I think Calvin Ridley has to step up because I think there is the most game-changing potential in number 0 from Will Levis. And let's hear Brian Callahan was asked about the controversial are Will Levis and Calvin Ridley on the same page topic. Here was the head coach on Monday.
The one play that he got left inside, Will got a little bit of contact as he was throwing the ball, and he couldn't get everything on it. We had that one. That should have been a touchdown. So I would not attribute that one to being not on the same page. That was more just a disruption in his throwing mechanics. But the second one was, it was 3rd and 15, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, there's not a lot of awesome calls for 3rd and 15. And so sometimes your best shot is to just see if you can run by somebody and give a guy a chance. And then usually what ends up happening is at worst, it's incomplete. You're going to punt it anyway. You draw a DPI or a defensive holding, or you complete it. And so I told Will before that play specifically that was the intent of why I was calling this play, was to see if to give him a chance. And then he just didn't give him a chance, and he just threw the ball out of bounds. And so those are what we call beer balls. Everyone gets a beer because he throws it out of bounds, and it's funny and all that, but it's serious because it's like, those are inexcusable throws, and that's got to be better.
There was one other one on the right side. I think it was in the second half. That looked like Calvin was taking more of a straight shot, and Will looked like he was going to be thrown over.
Yeah, Bill was throwing a back shoulder ball, which is what it should have been. Calvin's eyes had to be around by 10 yards. He went too deep. So Calvin was not where he was supposed to be, and Will was throwing the ball where he was expecting Calvin to be. So, that one, they definitely didn't get that one on the same page.
Look, the beer ball throw was not on Calvin Ridley.
Nope.
So Calvin Ridley was exactly where he had to be, and Calvin Ridley could have had 2 touchdowns and about 150 yards on Sunday. Instead, he had 3 catches total on 7 targets for 50 yards. 5 catches for 150 yards on 7 targets and 2 touchdowns would have obviously led to a Titans win. Now,
won the game. Yeah.
Now they scored a touchdown on the drive that did not end in one of those should have been really
the deep
touchdowns.
pass. Right.
The deep pass where Levis got hit. So that's also not on Levis either. I think that's fair to kind of put that up as a walk.
Can I push back on that?
Sure.
He didn't get hit. I mean, it looked like it wasn't zoomed in enough on the broadcast. Maybe he got his hand caught on the way back by the edge rusher. He didn't when you zoom in and you look. The reason given in the locker room, I was told, was that he wasn't able to step into it. And that's what the team is talking about. That's what Brian Callahan is talking about with
throwing mechanics was the reason.
Yeah, I hold a talent like Will Levis to a higher standard than that, frankly. I mean, we saw Anthony Richardson throw the 3rd longest air yard pass in the past, 15 years or whatever, when he had just slipped off his back foot like he was not trying in the exact same window on Sunday. Will Levis has a big boy arm that is a pass he can make even if he can't step all the way into it. So I think he should be held to a higher standard there.
Okay, that's fair. It was a bad throw. There were other factors around it, but the worst throw was the one. Well,
Out of
not
bounds.
the worst throw. The worst throw was the pick six, but the one that
In
went
this
out of bounds-
conversation,
in this conversation, sticking to my own rules here. The beer ball out of bounds where Ridley had like multiple steps on the DB down the sideline, which was the play right before the block punt touchdown, which makes that is literally a 14-point swing.
You cannot throw that ball out of bounds. You can't.
And so like that's like, so when I say Ridley needs to be the guy is because that, right? It is literally Calvin Ridley, I think is one of the only guys on this offense that has the ability to have a quick 17-point swing on like 3 plays.
Okay.
Because Calvin Ridley is a big time player and a big playmaker. And so I think Calvin Ridley needs to be on the same page with Will Levis at all times. The back shoulder throw could have changed things on that particular play as well. So where they had the miscommunication where Will was correct and Ridley was wrong, not having his eyes turned around 10 yards down the field. But I think Calvin Ridley is the biggest difference maker as far as the scoreboard goes for the Titans coming up in this game against the Jets. And like, the whole point about is Sauce Gardner going to cover him. You don't get many opportunities to beat Sauce Gardner for a touchdown. So when you do beat Sauce Gardner, you better be on the same page with the quarterback because that could be, it's like playoff hockey. The game-winning play can happen at any second. That's how I view Calvin Ridley the same way.
Yeah, if it's going to be Ridley, that's fine by me. And again, he's talented enough to operate in a number of different wide receiver archetypes. They just got to use him the right way, right? This can't be a game where you're trying to win over the top. The Jets defense has proven for more than a season now that that's not the way to beat them. So you're going to need to use him on crossing routes, try to get him some yak opportunity. If people want to actually picture a play, think back to the preseason, first game of the preseason, that first connection between Ridley and Levis, where it's like a 7-yard crossing route. Levis hits Ridley. He runs, breaks off another 10, 15 yards. That's the kind of thing you're going to need to see from him in this game if he's going to be the X factor.
Yeah, without a doubt. I do like your conversation about Boyd, though. I think Tyler Boyd, I was surprised that it took them so long into that game to target Tyler Boyd.
Right.
Because it does feel like they have I make Easton, you'll get to know me on show better more and more, is like I like to make cross-sport references with basketball a lot of times.
Okay.
Like Tyler Boyd should have, hey, this is the play for Tyler Boyd to go get a basket. Like go get a bucket.
Get a bucket guy. Yep.
And he should have multiple routes where he can just get a bucket, which a bucket is a first down. He's
the safety blanket right now. Use him.
For sure. Yes. So I like Tyler Boyd in this answer too. I think when it comes to Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, I feel like I don't really know what else those guys need to do that they can control to step up, because I feel like both of them played well when they got the football, especially in the running game, averaging both over 5 yards a carry. I'm just curious to see if they'll be able to make somebody miss in the open field in the receiving game and maybe have one of these screens get set up, because Brian Callahan did admit, he said the screens that they did call on Sunday in Chicago sucked a lot of the time.
Right.
And did not get much yak for those two guys too.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm with you on, I'm not sure how much of it they can control, because those two are capable of playing that, being in that mold I'm talking about with Boyd in this game, just being the underneath guy, get a bucket 3-4 yards and just dink and dunk your way down the field. But based on the way that the offensive line played in week 1, and the Jets, some of the defensive fronts you're going to see against this Jets team are sneaky bad, especially with Hassan Reddick not still a part of their team. They may just have to be in and helping to block on passing plays for the majority of the game. And so you're going to have to rely on your receivers in that case.
Yep, for sure. Comment from Roy I want to get to here in a second. King VC says, lock in, like the show. Everybody hit that like button. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, please hit the like button today. It goes a long way for us. I want to get to Roy's comment here in a second, Easton, because it talks about something we've already discussed, that's circling back to his big complaint of week 1 outside of Will Levis specifically. But real quick, Farm Bureau Health Plans is where you should turn for all of your health coverage needs. You can improve your health coverage and lower the rate that you pay every month for that coverage by going to Farm Bureau Health Plans. They've been doing it for 78 years across Tennessee. 200 plus locations in every corner of the state. They can take care of you, or you can just do it by going to their website and using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So many different ways that you can use Farm Bureau health plans to your advantage, whether you're an independent contractor, an entrepreneur, and that's out there trying to get coverage for you individually. They can do that. Maybe you're single and you're trying to go through life that way. Maybe you are a young married person and you and your spouse are growing your family. You need that type of coverage, or you're empty nested because the kids are out of the house and it's just you guys looking around. All right, we need to double down on our health coverage to make sure we're prepared for the next stage of life. Farm Bureau health plans can literally do it all. So check them out online and book an appointment and get a rate by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Guys, it's the middle of the week. That means it's time to start getting our bets in. And the place you got to do it is over at BetMGM, our partner on the show this morning. Use our bonus code A to Z Sports and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. That's a lot of bonus bets. If you don't win your first bet, whether you're cheering on the Titans at the stadium or watching the game at your favorite Music City Sports bar, you're always going to be able to get in on the action with BetMGM, their app right in the palm of your hand. There's nothing better than a Titans win. There's nothing better than winning a bet at BetMGM. Enjoy all their options like parlay selections, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, so much more over there. Sign up using our code A to Z Sports and experience football season like never before. Austin, the fans of this show are going to realize in the midweek when I'm reading these betting sponsorships, I'm going to be given little tidbits. I'm a betting guy, so here's your look ahead line. You need to put some money down on. Get the Cowboys at 6.5 while you still can. They are playing the Saints, the fraudulent Saints this week. I think that line's going to be up to a touchdown by kickoff. I think the Cowboys are going to win this game handily. Get them at 6.5 over at BetMGM while you still can. You are muted.
How did I get muted? All right. Thank you.
All right.
All good. So Roy had the comment over in the early beginning of the show about the play calling, and then he comes back after the conversation we've had about which Titans skill player needs to step up. And we'll talk about DeAndre Hopkins and his knee injury here in a second. But Roy says everything you guys are saying all circles back to play calling. So, I mean, I think when it comes to Tyler Boyd's lack of impact early, yeah, I agree. That comes back to play calling. That's Brian Callahan saying, I know Tyler Boyd, let's go get a bucket early in the game to settle things in. Get that first down.
Yep.
Right. And even Aaron Rodgers was saying it after losing to the Niners. They had 5 drives where they did not have a first down, either a 3-and-out or a turnover early. And so getting that first down is so important. And so Roy does have a point when you're talking about Tyler Boyd. I think he does have a point when you're talking about the running backs, because we both said the running backs can't really control their usage that much. It's up to the coaches. And so I know we said that Brian Callahan did not have as bad of a play calling day as it might have looked analytically, but where are you on this? That like how much better should Brian Callahan have been against the Bears?
I was completely unbothered by the play calling in the first half. That's not just because things were working. I was unbothered by it after the first 2 drives, right? Those first 2 drives, we said at halftime that those were a lie. That was kind of settling it. It was very vanilla. Then he started to get into his bag a little bit, called some plays that I liked, and that spanned over into the third quarter. But once the Bears started to get a pushback in the trenches, they widened those edge rushers and were able to get after Levis better in shotgun, force the tackles to over and under set, force the Titans to try to respond in kind with some tight end help, some running back bodies into chip and help. And then the running game, we talked about both guys averaging over 5 yards per carry, but it felt like Pollard was running into a wall more often than not in that late game. So the play calling there was stagnant. I agree with Roy 100%. And in this game against the Jets in particular, I think play calling is very important insofar as this defense is very talented. And there are only a couple of weak spots that you have to exploit in order to find success against them, whether you're a good team or a bad team. Again, this is the same Jets unit that we've seen for over a season now. They have shut down pretty much everybody. I don't think that's going to stop unless they start losing guys to injury. So I'm with Roy insofar as the play calling this week is maybe more important than it typically is. And the ability to adjust your play calling strategy on the fly, something we didn't see a whole lot of from the Titans on Sunday. you're gonna need to develop in that area. And a rookie coach, I think we talked about this in the post-game show. I'm not expecting him to be an excellent elite in-game adjuster in the first week. That's what separates the good coaches from the great coaches. The best coaches are able to adjust on the fly. I'm going to give him some time to figure that out, but this week would be a nice time to start to do that.
For sure. And I didn't have a problem with the play calling. I think there was maybe one play call that I was like, that kind of ruined and halted the momentum. And it was the second Traylon Burks end around that got you in 2nd and 15, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
if you're talking about where the play calling really messed up and hurt them, it's that. Because the other plays where it was a Tony Pollard second half run on first down that gained 0, 1, or 2, I mean, the same play call was getting 5 or 6 in the first half. So, or 26 on the touchdown in the first half. So it's not, just because it worked or didn't work doesn't make it a good or bad play call.
Plays that I wasn't crazy about, but overall, it wasn't like every drive there was one play where I was like, "Oh, that's not the right thing to do."
No, because the very next drive was okay. You're starting 1st and 20 because of the Peter Skronsky hold. So that's a bummer. The other drives in the second half after that, you had the 3 and out, but it was Spears. It was 3rd and 3, and Spears got tackled on the short crosser by Edmonds, who just made a hell of a play.
Great tackle.
Right at the sticks, and he was 1 yard short. What are you going to do? Then the next drive, they just didn't have a lot of drives, to be honest. You converted your 2nd and 7 to get a first down, and then you were sitting there at 2nd and 5. I also had a Derrick Henry rule, Easton, that you'll learn. When Derrick Henry gains 5 or more yards on 1st and 10, given the ball on 2nd down, just let that compound. And the Titans did that on the drive that ended in the sack fumble on 1st and 10 after they got a first down on the drive. You just gained. Tony Pollard went 11 yards. 1st and 10, he gained 5. 2nd and 5, okay, it was -1. Then you're at 3rd and 6, and that's where Levis had the sack fumble. So when Tony Pollard goes for 11 and 5 and back-to-back carries and it's 2nd and 5, I'm totally cool with running that ball again. Maybe it's the third time that it got you, but I still don't really hate that overall. And then the interception touchdown drive. I mean, they, again, 1st and 10 after 1st and 10, they threw Tyler Boyd for 11. 1st and 10 again, Tony Pollard, no gain. 2nd and 10, Boyd for 4. And then the infamous 3rd and 6, take the sack, but he throws it out to the sideline and gets pick 6. So it's the play calling wasn't that bad.
If I had to pick one bucket where I think the play calling can improve, it's on first down, right? And it's not that every first down was a poor play. And a couple of the times it wasn't the play calling. It was guys making a mistake and getting them behind the sticks. But to Brian Callahan's point in his press conference Monday, they just found themselves behind the sticks too often. It forced them into a style of play that they weren't crazy about. No play action. The screen game was limited. A lot of more shotgun than they wanted to have. So if they can just call maybe just safer, more efficient plays on first down, right? Like that Tyler Boyd, sit down on the sticks, get 3 yards, set up a 2nd and 7, a 2nd and 6. That's the kind of, again, just patient, boring, efficient football that's going to keep them ahead of the sticks, keep them on schedule, and lend itself to better 2nd and 3rd down success.
No, I get you on that. It makes sense, but we'll have to figure out how he adjusts when it comes to his play calling and what's his counterpunch once the defense reacts to Tony Pollard in the second half. All right, so let's get to DeAndre Hopkins because we had a doc talk conversation with the Bone Joint Institute yesterday. It was super great. It was awesome. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It's about 12 minutes in its entirety. I think maybe on our YouTube and our Facebook page. We're going to play a clip of that here in a second. But first, I want to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute because that's where you should turn whenever you have an injury in life. The experts at the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin can help you out, educate you on that injury, how to self-care at home with rehab at home so you don't have to keep going back and back and back for other visits. If you need surgery, they've got the experts and the resources all under one roof to help you get back on that road to recovery. So if anybody in your family, son or daughter playing youth sports, you being a goofball playing intramurals or just having injuries that stack up in life like me, that's where you should go. The Bone and Joint Institute. It's so easy to book an appointment. online at boneandjointtn.org.
We're brought to you this morning by BetMGM, our sponsor here on the A to Z Morning Show. It is time to start betting, folks, and you can do so over on BetMGM by using our promo code A to Z Sports. Receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Get in on the action on the BetMGM app right now in the palm of your hand. There's nothing better than winning a bet. There's nothing better than winning a bet on your Titans winning a game. You can do all of that over on BetMGM's app. Enjoy the best parlay selection options, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, so much more. Sign up using code A to Z Sports and experience football like never before. BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. Austin, I saw someone in the chat earlier say, should I use a bonus bet on T'Vondre Sweat, defensive rookie on the year? Sure. Why not? Listen, he had the second best pass rush win rate of any defensive lineman, rookie or veteran, in week 1. High profile position, ability to impact the game with sacks. Why? Just a little sprinkle. Just a little sprinkle.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a bonus bet, go for it. I wouldn't put my own money on it because if you get I put a bonus bet on the Tennessee Vols to make the college football playoff.
Hey,
I'm not going to jinx
it's free
myself.
money. It's free money.
It is a bonus bet, but yeah, you can do that for sure. Now, the one thing about T'Vondre Sweat is, will he have enough statistics to be able to get there? Because other guys are going to have more box score stats.
Listen, he's long odds for a reason. This is a long shot bet.
Yeah, for sure. Which is why, bonus bet, do that thing. Absolutely. So, all right, I'm going to play this clip from the Bone and Joint Institute. We asked Dr. Colin Looney about MCL injuries because that is what DeAndre Hopkins is dealing with currently. Because if we remember DeAndre Hopkins telling Paul Kaharski a little over a week ago, I had the MCL tear maybe 4.5, 5 weeks ago. It takes a whole year to heal. So it's pain management at this point. He's not expecting any surgery. So we went to Dr. Looney with this information and asked him for clarification on MCL injuries. And then we're going to ask you guys a question after you hear Dr. Looney's explanation of the MCL injury. This was really, really good from our Doc Talk conversation.
Orthopedic surgeons, we like to make classifications for things. And, we classify every injury. And really, a lot of them aren't really worth a dang. But the one for MCLs is pretty valuable in talking to athletes and talking to patients about when they're going to play again. Because there's only three types of injury for the MCL. There's 1, 2, and 3. One is one, and they're all considered MCL sprains, but 3 is a complete tear of the MCL. And so when somebody comes off, you see someone fall down on the field and the doc helps them off. I always tell people, really, it's the best news you can get for that person who can't get off the field because of their knee injury is to be told they have an MCL injury. An MCL injury is definitely more favorable than most ligament injuries of the knee. And that's because most MCLs heal on their own. It's a big, broad, flat ligament. It's got a lot of blood supply, and it tends to heal on its own. And even a 3 typically can heal on its own. And that's a complete tear. A grade 1 is a small partial tear where there's no instability. There's not any sloppiness to the knee at all. A grade 2 has some mild opening. And the grade 3 is like you've seen it where they stress the knee from the side and it really opens up like a hinge. And that's a grade 3 that athlete has torn his MCL completely. But the MCL is it's not a rope like the ACL. Rope tears, it's done. But this is a big flat ligament, and even a complete tear can heal and a lot of athletes. And there's some exceptions, and we'll talk about that.
So we did talk about the exceptions. You can go listen to that towards the end of the Doc Talk interview on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page where that's posted. It's about 15 minutes, I think, in its entirety. But I thought that was fascinating to learn about the MCL because I don't know about you guys, but when I hear of an MCL tear or any ligament tear, I view it in the scope of an ACL. Dude's done. He's out 9 months, right? He can start going full speed doing football drills in 7 months, but he's probably going to need a couple months of that. But that's not this at all. And so when DeAndre Hopkins says he tore his MCL, at this point, like from today, about 5.5, 6 weeks ago, we took right after that conversation, we kind of learned the timelines of grade 1, 2, and 3. Grade 1 MCL sprain, which is they all are technically sprains, is like a 5 to 7 day injury, is what Dr. Looney said.
Right.
Grade 2 is kind of what lines up with Jordan Love in Green Bay, which is like that 2 to 4 to 5 weeks. And then grade 3 is that 6 to 8-ish weeks. And so DeAndre Hopkins sounds like, again, we don't know this for a fact, but we do know that D-Hop told Paul Kaharski, yeah, I tore it. He's probably grade 3. He's right at 6 weeks now. He played sparingly on Sunday, got that catch to make it 167 consecutive games. Every game in his career, he's had at least one catch. So the streak continues. If you can name that reference in the chat, what is the streak continues? It's a local sporting reference. I'll come back to that later with trivia, conveniently. Which the streak is now over for that reference.
Right.
But Diop came back and still played. So I find that really interesting, right? So let's go ahead and ask this question, Easton, to the chat. Are you glass half full or glass half empty about DeAndre Hopkins? Because he's right around that time where you're like, okay, he's
time to get back.
Kind of at that spot where it should be generally okay, as long as a re-injury doesn't occur. Because we did ask that to Dr. Looney, and he said a re-injury just literally starts that clock back over at 0 weeks to 6 to 8. So glass half full or glass half empty on DeAndre Hopkins' knee injury. I see a lot of chat coming in already. I'll also put up a YouTube poll here. Make sure you hit that like button too on the show. But the Easton, what are you seeing from the chat about half full or half empty for D-Hop's knee?
I'm seeing a glass about 2/3 full. I'm seeing most folks saying that this glass is full. I think that listen, I came into that interview, the Doc Talk interview, kind of being glass half empty, left more glass half full. So I think that we've got a lot of intelligent listeners this morning who listened to the Doc Talk already. They already know what's up. I realized about 10 seconds into that interview that I am, in fact, not a doctor, because my whole point with this injury situation leading up to that enlightening conversation was, well, it's not just going to heal itself. It's a ligament, right? ACLs don't just magically repair themselves. It's a little rope. It's detached. It's not going to crawl back up there and reattach itself to the bone. Wrong. Incorrect. Not a doctor. MCLs can, in fact, heal themselves, which is super cool, except for one exception, which you have to go listen to the video. But there's one case in which they won't heal themselves. We did, just for full disclosure, kind of rule that out for DeAndre Hopkins. This is he wouldn't be trying to heal this if he knew it wasn't going to heal.
That is a particular, like, very specific, obvious thing of like, yeah, this needs surgery.
They would know when it happened.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is good news for D-Hop. But in terms of his usage, the biggest question for me right now, Austin, is him only playing 15, 16 snaps on Sunday. How much of that was rust versus risk management versus pain management, right? It falls somewhere into those three buckets. And we know that his coaching staff talked to us prior to the game talking about how, hey, D-Hop wants to get out there at practice. He wants to be back full. We're kind of protecting him from himself a little bit. So I think risk management was a part of it. Sure. I'd imagine rust is a part of it because you miss all of training camp, even though you've been on the team before. It's a new offense. You haven't played for a month. There's some rust there, and I don't think, knowing DeAndre Hopkins, he's not going to answer this question. He's going to say he feels great.
Oh, he already said he feels great.
I know, but if we ask him again, he's going to say, I feel even greater. But I would be curious to know how much of it is pain management. And Dr. Looney talked to us about how the re-injury risk / most dangerous kind of activity for pain is anything that involves cutting in or out. We saw Traylon Brooks with that LCL last year. Yes. Run a lot of clear out routes, a lot of vertical. It's just running straight lines.
Cardio.
Right. It's cardio king time, maybe for DeAndre Hopkins as well, because it's those cutting routes. So a lot of maybe you see him just on some go routes and try to rekindle some of that Levis Hopkins, just toss the ball up there, let the Hall of Famer make a play moments. Maybe you see some comeback routes, but in terms of sharp cutting, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that from DeAndre Hopkins anytime soon.
Yeah. And so, the super high majority is very much half full on this.
Yeah.
Malachi, D-Hop is a freak of nature. I'm glass half full. Now, then Darren says he's old. Healing ain't the same at that age, which True. I can attest. D-Hop is 32.
Tell me about being old, Austin. What's that like?
I didn't notice anything. Look, I think if you do it right, your 30s are the best damn decade you've got.
Is that right?
Yeah, if you do it right. But
Okay.
I will say, at 32 is when I started to notice things don't bounce back. 30, 31, I'm like, I'm rocking. I'm in shape. I'm all this stuff. Strong, fast, healthy, all this.
And then overnight at 32, you're
32,
done. You're
it's just like,
cooked.
yeah. Well, it's just like if you take time off, it's just harder to bounce back once you hit 32, which is where D-Hop's at. But D-Hop ain't me, and I ain't D-Hop. So I think you can still be, as Jay says, 35 for a man is peak. I still think you can be peak in your 30s. Maybe not as an NFL player, but I think it definitely does have a difference of recovery time and bounce back once you get to your mid 30s. Steve says try 67. Recovery time is long. And Nick says
Sure.
wait till 40. I totally understand. That's
Austin,
why
I don't know if you know this. It gets worse as you get older. It does.
Yeah, it does. But I do think I think 20s are your 20s. You're just treating your body in most cases like a garbage disposal.
You're still indestructible.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so back to D-Hop. I am very much glass half full on this.
Okay.
And I think to answer your question about is it rust versus risk management, I think it's fully risk management.
Okay.
Because you're also missing 5 weeks of not practicing football, is also 5 weeks of not doing a lot of physical cardio type conditioning things, to where when you're tired, and you guys know this, when you're tired, you make bad decisions. And when you're tired, you lose your form, which when you lose your form is how you get hurt. And so the last thing the Titans needed to do is put DeAndre Hopkins out there, who has not been doing the same level of conditioning that he would have been doing. And I'm not talking about just like going for a jog or running on a treadmill. That's not conditioning.
Game conditioning.
You've got to be cutting, jumping, quick, explosive, blocking. That's conditioning, because your muscles have to be able to fire all these times to get going. Because if it's play 35 for D-Hop instead of 17 and his legs are dead and he gets hurt because he's losing some form, now you're starting that clock over at 0.
Or you cost your team a big play, right? That's another thing that can happen when you're lazy.
Yeah, but I'm talking even more specifically about D-Hop's health.
Bad things happen is the point.
Bad things happen when you're tired nursing an injury. And so keeping him fresh was important. And so I think risk management was where that was at. You're talking the bye week 5. So after the bye week, I guess week 6 of the Colts game 5, you're like going on almost 12 weeks from the injury.
I think that's their plan, tentatively, to be honest with you.
It's
to just slowly ramp him up until then.
Yeah, manage him, get him through the bye week by playing 15 to 20, 25 snaps a game, and maybe you increase that as it goes. And then after the bye week, you're at your 3 months and you should be ready to go. Like, that's kind of what I feel. So I'm half full on this.
Yeah, that was my question, is if we were trying to set a line for this week, I'd be really surprised if he plays more than 25 snaps. I think it'll be a really incremental step up each week. I don't feel like, maybe if they get themselves in a hole and they're 0-2, 0-3, they're like, all right, we gotta start winning some games. Let's kind of push a little bit here. But for the time being, they're not panicked. They want him to be a long-term answer for them this season. They know he's a very important part of the Will Levis experiment and letting him develop. And so I don't think that they're going to push him to be suddenly full this week. I think it'll still be very limited.
Yeah, another comment to Devin, who stated earlier in the show that he's torn his MCL, and Devin, we know, is a military guy, and he said he's still armied through the torn MCL there. And Devin says he'll be 100% next week. Book it. Like, if next week is 6.5 to 7 weeks, if you're talking about Packers next week, or if you're talking about Jets next week, I don't know what Devin's really getting at there, but regardless, maybe the MCL is close or at 100%, but that doesn't mean DeAndre Hopkins, the wide receiver, is at 100%. That's
conditioned up, right?
Yes, and ready to go out there and play 85% of the snaps and run 50 plays and run 30 routes. That's what I don't know yet. So I think that's where week 6, game 5, home versus the Colts, I hope that's where D-Hop is.
Agreed.
To that point.
I think by that point too, I think that's the pretty clear cutoff. If it's still a thing by week 6, I think we're going to be on the show that week talking about how we fans need to stop factoring in D-Hop as a big part. Like, you need to plan this year, not with D-Hop as a massive part of the picture anymore. That's how I'm going to feel.
if it's not ready, if he goes through and he plays in that game against the Colts, which is October 13th, if he plays that game and is still not a regular factor,
Right.
you think it's going to be that way the whole time? I mean, it could be.
I do. I think at that point you've got to start. I mean, and you got to make him a gravy guy, right? If he figures it out at some point in the season, cool. But for now, we're planning to operate without him as a primary part of this offense, because that'll have been like 12 weeks. If it's still an issue, then it's either, he's just not healing, and then surgery might be a conversation, God forbid.
Yeah.
Or he's just old and it's taking some time, or maybe he's just not confident. Whatever it is, you can't go all season being like, well, this is the week that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be back 100%.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some realism at that point of like, yeah, okay, this might just be what he is in.
And I don't think it's going to happen, by the way. I think it'll be good by then. I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, and so Devin's trying to, I think Devin is valuable information here. As a guy, I don't know if anybody else in the chat watching right now has torn their MCL, but Devin has. I haven't. I've torn my ACL, so I can tell you about that. But he's an athlete. I'm definitely not an athlete, so I'm holding Diop to a higher standard, thinking that, yeah, you should, because he has all the tools. He spent 2 weeks in LA getting the best physical therapy and rehab that you could possibly get. So yeah, Diop, I think the bye week rollout feels about right.
Yep.
Real quick, a question that Jack Tripper has here on YouTube. What about Colton Dowell? So Colton Dowell, just spend a couple minutes on this, tore his ACL in like late December. Like
very late.
Close to Christmas. And so he is right about 9 full months out of this. And he's not done really any football from I can tell. I mean, I don't remember seeing Colton Dowell even doing side field work that much through training camp.
I can think of 2 times I saw his face this year.
Yeah. And that's probably like walking and not like doing.
It was like walking into the locker room. I didn't notice him doing anything on the field.
Yeah, for sure. So Colton Dowell is taking a redshirt year for all intents and purposes. Like I think
he is.
That's how you turn that. Louis says, I've torn my Achilles. Does that count? No, it doesn't, because your Achilles is not in your knee.
I tore my labrum. What do we think?
Which one, hip or shoulder?
I'm kidding. I did not. I did not.
But no, I mean,
I've torn no things so far.
Good.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. Man, tearing your Achilles is
Have you done that?
The old man injury that I think I fear the most.
You see Kirk go down. You see Rodgers go down. Oh no!
There's so many I just know people in their 40s and 50s that play pickup basketball.
I was about to say, how do you think it's going to happen? And pick up one cut?
I don't know. Kyle Brandt tore his Achilles doing a stupid bit on TV, and
Right.
all it is you plant wrong off that foot and you feel like you get kicked in the back and it's gone.
Hey,
So
every morning, just stretch that thing out. You'll be fine.
I
Just
know.
be good and loose.
Exactly. So take care of your Achilles.
Right.
That should be the next piece of advice. Okay, Easton, it is about that time for trivia. Going to have some fun time with trivia. We'll see how Easton does driving his first trivia session.
It's going to go so poorly. Here.
Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go. Make sure you make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon or online at WilsonCountyHyundai.com. See, I'm
already doing the wrong thing. It's already off to a poor start.
Now we're going to do trivia, right?
Hey, there we go. There's the trivia. How about
All right, now we're at trivia. Okay, so here's the rules. So Easton is doing this thing. You might need to first see if you can close out that ad. You're going to have to hit the one that's above the little footer. Maybe the one
letting
right.
me.
Okay, well, we're starting. Well, we're not starting yet, but
It's not started yet.
Okay, so you might need to zoom in.
Okay, let's see if we can do a little bit of this right. Not that much.
That's okay. That's probably
all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We'll roll with that. All right, enhance. Like I said, this is enhance.
Right.
Okay, so here's the rules. I want you guys in the chat to give us some categories. So categories, please, to help us, because we will start with the NFL, and then we will do the next 3 categories from the chat. And the whole goal is to go rapid fire. All right. So I'm waiting on the chat to give me, they're all making fun of Easton. Control plus, learn the buttons. Enhance,
Guys, I'm trying.
close the ads.
I'm trying.
And so here's another one because Orlando asked if A to Z is too cheap for an ad blocker. We are a company that makes money off of ads, so we do not block ads because that would be hurting our own pockets for the amount of time that we spend on our own website. Okay,
Right.
so we're going to start with the NFL, then we're going to go to music,
Okay.
and then we're just going to go around the board because that's what Lucas says. So NFL.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. Drafted 29th overall at Ohio State, the 7-time Pro Bowl center, spent his entire career with the Jets, 06 to 16. Ooh. I have no idea.
Nick Mangold.
Nice.
Music.
This famous European pop group had the 1970s Dancing Queen, Take a Chance on Me, and Fernando, ABBA.
There you go. All right, let's go movies.
Seth Rogen played the lead character in this 11 superhero comedy that also starred Cameron Diaz. Is this
I never saw it.
super bad?
No, not super bad.
Superhero comedy.
It was like very a lot.
Okay.
Green
Green
Arrow,
Arrow?
Green Hornet, Kick-Ass. I think it's Kick-Ass. People are saying Green Kick Space Ass.
Oh,
Green Hornet. People are saying
not Kick-Ass.
ooh, so it's gonna be Green Hornet.
Despite polarizing reviews, Ginny and Georgia have been streaming hit for this streaming platform since its debut in 21.
I have no idea.
Ginny and Georgia. Well, we just guess a streamer. I don't know. Chad, help us out here.
I have no idea what.
I've never heard of that in my life. Ginny and Georgia.
People are saying
Netflix?
Netflix. They're also
right.
asking you to
Cool.
read slower.
Slower. Henry Robert was a chemist and a perfumer who notably held the role of chief perfumer of this famous French fashion brand from 53 to 78.
Oh my gosh.
These are crazy questions.
These are really tough today.
Chief perfumer. Who do I look
Let's
like?
just think of French fashion. What do we know about French fashion?
But Louis Vuitton?
Polo? Polo's not French.
Oh, it's not French. It's very American.
Chanel.
What?
Chanel is French.
Okay. Why not? Hey,
Okay.
college football. This ACC school went 10-3 during the 15th season with Everett Golson and Sean McGuire sharing snaps at quarterback.
That would be Sean McGuire. Is that? Oh no.
I don't know. I'm not a big college
Is either
guy.
Boston? Is it Boston College?
10-3.
No.
You think Boston?
No. It's Florida State. I think Sean McGuire. FSU, Florida State.
Nice.
I had my gold and burgundy.
Smush Parker is best known for his tenure at
Oh,
the starting
Lakers.
point. Okay.
Smush Parker was my guy.
All right. Coming in multiple varieties, the croissant-wich is a breakfast sandwich offered by what fast food chain?
Is that Burger King?
Maybe. I don't know.
Pretty sure croissant, which is Burger King. Let's let the chat catch up.
Okay.
Because I don't want to mess this up.
I'm not a
DK. Hello Lady says Burger King, so hit that. Okay. Oh dear.
Oh, this is
Brad Pitt's on the outside.
Brad Pitt and Facebook boy, right?
Oh, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
All right,
Yes.
double dip, yes, and then Green Hornet. Boom.
All right.
315.
Is that all right? I don't know. What's the bar?
We were going pretty quick.
Okay.
I don't think that's our record though. That's like maybe top 3, top 4 answers, and we would have been way better if we would have listened to the chat and gone Green Hornet. But
That's
I
on
think,
us.
Yeah, that's on us for going too fast. Devin says that's the fastest time.
I think the bar 311 is the record Matt thinks.
Okay, Matt.
I think the bar this season is let's try to get a perfect game under 3 minutes would be.
Yeah, I think it's correct.
That's
9 for
pitching a
9
shutout.
under 3.
Yep.
And Eric is totally correct. It is 100% my fault, not even Easton's. My fault. Now
For
I
the
did
kick-ass
I
recommendation.
did pull Nick Mangold out of my ass.
You did that. Hey, listen, you made up for it on that one. And the Smush Parker. I would never have gotten
Smush Parker was the easiest thing in the world.
Not my thing.
That was my second. That
I'm
was my
surprised me getting ABBA was impressive to people. Those are 3 very popular ABBA songs. I have seen, like if you have seen the what's the stupid movie, the ABBA movie, the movie Mamma Mia. I've seen Mamma Mia, so I know those songs.
Oh, I've never seen Mamma Mia. So
You've never seen Mamma Mia, the musical? No, okay. All right, well,
I'm not a
you should.
musical person. I'm not like you'll learn this
I mean,
about
it's
me.
also a movie. So
I don't watch movies. I don't
Okay.
listen to music.
Oh, cool.
I
Great trivia guy.
I don't
Awesome
know
trivia
many.
partner.
That's why I knew Nick Mangold and Smush Parker. Like that's
There
what I
you
do
go.
it for.
Fair enough, man.
All right, that's it for us on this Wednesday show. Sam will be back tomorrow morning. Somebody asked where Sam's at. I'll just kind of give a rundown of the week of what the schedule is going to look like for the morning show. I'll be on most weeks, all 5 days, but Mondays will be Zach. Tuesdays and Wednesdays will be Easton and I. And then Thursday and Fridays will be Sam and I. And then Sam will fill in for Buck on primetime on Tuesday night. So if you missed that show, I thought Sam did a great job with his first primetime fill-in last night, and go watch that on Facebook and YouTube. Also hit up that Doc Talk conversation as well with Dr. Looney there from the Bony Joint Institute about DeAndre Hopkins. It was really, really impressive and really informative. So make sure you guys do that. It's a Wednesday, which means Easton and Sam are headed back to the facility for another week of practice and more content from the Tennessee Titans. So keep an eye out for that. Buck Rising live again tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime at 7. And we'll catch you guys later on a Thursday. Make sure you hit that like button before you go and subscribe to our channel. So like the show before you head out of here. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Thursday.